guys. Sorry. Um, so we're talking about reviews. I automate all of my reviews via Hospitable. So essentially, I pre-program, a handful of different reviews that are more general, but indicate a guest was good in all of those situations. And then you can set the time that the automated review goes out. So if you could set your review to go out 24 hours after the guest checks out, you could set it to go out 10 days after, knowing there is some strategy in regards to when you post your review because you want to time it where it's going to be still fresh on the guest's mind in most instances where they're because when you leave a review, whether it's automated or not, it's going to push an email to the guest that says, hey, Emily reviewed you as a guest. Leave your review now, like something like that.
Hmm.
So, and you as a host too are also getting those. If you've got email notifications turned on via Airbnb, you probably see you get pushed. Don't forget to leave a review for XYZ guest. It goes both ways. So you can either time it so you leave a review on a day that Airbnb is not already pushing a reminder to the guest. And I believe Airbnb pushes a reminder to the guest the same day that the guest checks out. So usually if guest checks out at 10, Airbnb will push a email to the guest around like 4.
Does
Um,
Hospitable not override that though? If you have an automatic, if you have one set up to go the next day, for instance, would Airbnbs still go out?
no, Good question. Good
Okay.
clarifying question there. Yeah. So if your review posts, Airbnb will stop sending the reminders to guests. Yep. So you're
But
exactly
if
right.
if you have one scheduled to go out using Hospitable,
Mhm,
so if you have one scheduled to go out the following day,
mhm.
will will Airbnb will that Hospitable one override Airbnb and or will Airbnb's requests still go out?
Requests. Okay. So if you as a host, let's say you set an automated review to post 48 hours after the guest checks out. You
Hmm.
posted your review. The guest is going to get an email that says, hey, your host reviewed you. Would you like to leave your review now? And then the guest will either leave it or not. And if they still have not left their review, Airbnb is still going to push the guest reminders throughout that 2 week period. Um, if you post yours or not, regardless of if you post yours or not. Once both reviews are posted, the reminders obviously stop. Um, yeah, so and then you also probably could implement, if you're not already, the review reminders via Hospitable. So this is an actual message versus just an email push from Airbnb, but you customize a message via Hospitable to go out to the guest. Um, and yeah, the timing of it all is something you'll kind of have to play around with. You know Hospitable at this point where it's just so user friendly in regards to selecting XYZ button and you can put your preferred trigger or timing. So you have those options with both review automations and review reminders in your messages. Um, so yeah, as far as getting really granular and specific on the best timing to do it, I think sooner post stay is better. And then for leaving your review as a host, um, I don't like to have my review written. Sorry, I don't like to have my review posted to go out automatically until at least like 3 or 4 days. I have to look exactly how I have it set, but that allows me a buffer just in case it was a bad guest. And I don't want a review to accidentally go out if I didn't catch it fast enough to cancel my automated good review. So none of my automated reviews are negative. They're all good reviews, and I only cancel them if it's a bad guest, then I will manually write a bad review. So,
Yes.
yeah. What's your
Okay.
follow-up questions?
Thank
Anything?
you.
Reviews are definitely very important. So these are really good questions to ask. My biggest pet peeve is when hosts don't leave reviews for guests. So kudos to you for taking the time to do it, especially now Airbnb is pushing an option to allow hosts to provide discounts to guests who have all 5-star ratings. Um, which I think it's just beta mode right now. They're trialing that. I don't necessarily love that because we know that not all hosts leave honest reviews for guests. Um, it would be a fabulous thing if the review system was a little more down pat and both sides reviewed honestly, but yeah, it's important as a host to do your due diligence to either warn future guests or let other future hosts know that they're a good guest. So, any
I
other? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I heard that I don't know, I maybe it was in a different group or something that they were doing away, or maybe the guest just doesn't have enough reviews to have like a number star rating. Because I thought they were doing away with like allowing hosts to see guest rating, like number ratings, but maybe I don't know if it's similar, like if a guest doesn't have enough stays, like just like if you have a new property, you don't get designated a number until you get three reviews. From what I'm seeing on my end, I still see, guests that are staying what their, 5-star rating or 4.8 rating or something like that. Have you heard anything like that? Or could it just be they might be a newer guest and they don't have enough reviews?
Yeah, I this is a good question, and we'll have to look up the Airbnb help articles because it varies. So sometimes I will have guests. I think that it's the same in most cases where they have to have at least 3 stays before they'll actually have a star rating. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Don't mark my words on that. But like I just hosted a guest that had a 5-star rating for with one review. So that contradicts kind of what we're thinking with the having to have 3 reviews before you get a star rating as a guest. So I know that if you as a guest, let's say you went on a trip with friends and you were added to the reservation and that host left a review for the booker, the actual booker of the stay, the review falls on anyone's account that was part of that reservation, even if they weren't the booker. But if, let's say, you got reviewed from a host when you were just a guest on that reservation and not the actual booker, then you're not going to get a star rating right away until you are the booker yourself. But the actual review, what's written about the booker will post on your account. That's probably confusing without a visual example, but yeah, I don't think it would be a bad idea to even look up the rules around reviews. Let's see, guys. I have a million tabs pulled up here. Um, Past reviews, Airbnb. Okay. Oops. I'll share my screen here in a second. Let me move some things over. Okay. So even just looking Airbnb's reviews policy, it should tell us exactly what you're asking, I would think. Um, Forcing policy, responding to reviews, remove a review, content policy. Hmm. Let's do more general, how reviews work. So yeah, this is a good example if you ever have specific, you're like wondering how something works or the terms of service, just going to the Airbnb Help Center, you can typically find these answers. Your reviews from hosts, ratings from your hosts. Okay, so here it probably is going to break down. It says as part of the optional review process, hosts can rate you with 1 to 5 stars in various categories. These category ratings are then combined into an averaged rating for the stay. Okay, let's see. Ratings are used in a number of ways. Public review from your host. Okay, so all reviews are posted on their profile. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really specify. I'm just skimming here quickly. Um, it doesn't specify how many reviews a guest has to have until they get a star rating. So it's possible Airbnb support would be able to tell us, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Let's see. Let's do.
I was trying to chat GPT it, but it's giving me more like other generic things. I don't know exactly what to search to figure out what if we can see.
Yeah,
Here.
I will say one important thing, probably the most important thing with a guest's review rating is let's say you have your instant book. We all have instant book turned on. That's important. And then within the instant book settings, you can select to host guests with good track record. And if a guest has never had any previous stays, they cannot qualify for good track record, which means they cannot instant book your home, which is a good thing in my opinion, because then you can take the time to vet and review, have a conversation with that guest, um, before you accept or decline their reservation request. So that's a good thing. That's like a huge reassurance. And a lot of times, you guys, I'm hosting guests who have never had a stay on Airbnb. And it usually comes in as a booking request, or it always does. It come in as a booking request. And then I get to have, a conversation. And 99% of the time, a guest who has never stayed on Airbnb before, it's no problem at all. And you can really tell based on how they answer questions, if they're going to be, an okay person to host. And then you can easily gauge as well when someone's not going to be a good guest. On that note as well, during the review as a host, you guys all know that whether you're automating reviews on Hospitable or leaving a review on Hospitable or going into Airbnb and actually manually writing your review, the last part of the review process, you get to either thumbs down or thumbs up a guest. It will say, do you recommend this guest to other hosts? Thumbs up, thumbs down. You could leave, 5 stars for the guest and still, not recommend them for whatever reasons. It just all is circumstantial. Um, and so if you thumbs down that guest and you don't recommend them to other hosts, that guest is going to lose their ability to instant book in the future. So let's say you're really trying to make it known to other hosts that, hey, this guest looks like they have 25 5-star reviews and maybe 1 4-star review, but you actually had a 1-star experience with that guest. And if you thumbs down them, they cannot instant book people's houses. So that's a huge way as a host to kind of do your part with helping other hosts not get instant bookings from guests who shouldn't be, who don't have a good track record. So I think that's kind of a fun little fact, an important thing to take note of. Definitely don't thumbs up a guest if they were bad. So, and I wouldn't take it too far in regards to like, let's say they were a little messy, but nothing extreme. You didn't have to file any claims. They communicated well. you probably don't want to go to the level of thumbs downing a guest, knowing that information that they won't then be able to instant book. You don't want to create bad experiences for people in the future when they're just trying to travel. But, do your due diligence in regards to leaving the appropriate screening or review. Any other questions on reviews that we can go over?
Hi, Emily. How are you?
Hey, doing well, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, good. So this is a good topic for me this afternoon as I just reviewed a guest
Mhm.
who overall was pretty good. They left all the yard games and toys out. So how does it reflect on a guest if you do 4-star cleanliness, 4-star house rules, and 5-star communication? Are they gonna overall get a 4-star review?
Yeah, there's definitely some ambiguity with that. And Dana was asking kind of something similar, but I'm not 100% sure how it all averages out on their overall review. But guests, when you review them, cannot see the various categories that you review them in, and they can't see the star rating that you give them in those categories. So, if that's
So
helpful,
they just would overall see like a 4-star review or a 5-star review.
I don't even know that they see. You know what? They will see the overall, yes, because they'll get an email that says, Lisa left you a 5-star review. I'm pretty sure, but I don't think they can see the category reviews. What I what I do know is they can't see. So when you're leaving a guest review on Airbnb, if you go into Airbnb, you have little spaces to leave comments. So let's say you want to give 3 stars in cleanliness, and then you select the boxes, left extra messy, stains on sheets, and then there's a little box where you can type information. If you type, hey, guest was extremely messy, cleaners charged me extra, that can only be seen by other hosts. The little blurb in text isn't going to be able to be seen by the guest. So, sometimes that's another kind of way for hosts to help other hosts. Um,
So how would you end up rating a guest? Like, would you end up giving them like if they just left your yard stuff out? Like in my house rules, it says like if you move furniture, put it back, but it doesn't say anything about yard games. I was actually realizing that after the fact.
mhm.
Would you still give them a 5-star review, but then in the overall review for other hosts to read, just be like, hey, yard games were left out or whatever, and just document it that way so it doesn't ding them as bad?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it. You could just leave it in the private commentary under that specific category. Something like and here's something too, you could even use ChatGPT for if you wanted to, but you can create your own review system. So let's say your criteria is a guest, you have to file a claim. Guests never communicated once before, during, or after the stay, and your cleaners had to charge you extra. Or let's say they violated a major policy, like not disclosing pets, bringing extra guests, because all of those things technically put a liability on a host. So if those criteria are met, that's usually when I make the point to not leave a 5-star review, both in categories and overall. If
Okay.
if it's something like, my cleaners let me know the guests kind of left their dishes, and there was, maybe like a little bit of pet waste in the yard, I'm not going to ding them crazy, because I usually, based on gathering the data from, okay, the guest was communicative throughout the stay. Um, they were really kind, really polite. There was no damages. They might have just forgotten the little dog poop in the corner. And I usually give them the benefit of the doubt. If it feels and appears very intentional, or it's a major violation, 100%, that's when you should not give the 5 stars. So that kind of making sense?
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's usually how I go about it. Um, I think it's important too when it's, another violation of, you can tell a guest was really pushing for a refund, or maybe guests were over communicative and really demanding. I think that sometimes can warrant not necessarily a lower star rating, but specific notations within the comment section so other hosts know, they asked for unreasonable items, or they were messaging at 2 a.m., or things like that, but not necessarily dinging them on the star count. That's
Okay.
Yeah, that's usually how I approach it. It seems like in this case where the guest left the yard games out, I think that's pretty reasonable. It would be a big bummer if they had left the yard games out and they all got damaged, like in the rain or the snow. And I would probably end up handling that with a claim, um, just for kind of being negligent with taking care of the things in the house. But it's a good thing to add probably to your house rule section now as well, now that that's happened.
Okay. That sounds great. I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah, of course. And Lisa, just to follow up, I know last week we were talking about the guest that they never left you a review, but they tried to get their refund. They haven't attempted to try to get their full money back or anything.
No, and actually, when I talked to Airbnb customer service, since it was a 49-day stay, they said if they canceled that, the remainder of the 19 days would not get charged to them.
Mm.
And so I don't know, it's because I stood firm on my cancellation policy, but they went on, ended up charging that remainder of the 19 days to the guest. And I just called Airbnb right away. I was like, hey, I know you guys don't refund your fees, but I did tell the guests that 19 days would not be charged. So I refunded that portion of it. But I did think that was interesting that Airbnb support told me one thing and then it ended up happening being, a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, I think you did the right thing there too. I mean, you easily could have just kept the amount for the additional 19 days. Always in those instances, check to make sure the amount hit your account before you send a refund, so you're not accidentally refunding something that hadn't hit your account. Um, But also, it is the guest's responsibility always to understand the cancellation policy. And so, to me, a guest who doesn't take the time to read the policy and understand, okay, I can click cancel, and even though I may not get a refund for this amount, I'll still get a refund for the second portion. That's on them to understand. It sounds to me, Lisa, like you did your part by informing them of that too, and they still didn't cancel. So, technically in that situation, you don't even need to send a refund, but you did the right thing ethically.
Yeah, I went ahead and sent it back just because in my verbal text where I had communicated with them, based on what customer service had told me, I was like, I just want to make sure I'm, true to my word. And also then I don't want to create a bigger issue over, now they come at me for something else. But
Exactly. Yes. Everyone listen to what Lisa just said because that is the ethical thing to do. And at the end of the day, I always say this, but we're in hospitality, so making it right in that regards is the right thing to do. So good job. Um, cool. I'm glad that situation is behind you and you don't have to
yeah,
worry about that anymore. But
yeah, but
any,
I will double check my account just to make sure that something wasn't returned, and
yeah.
came out of my account twice or something. That is a good note.
Yep, it's always, I think that, even if weekly, you guys, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or however you're doing your bookkeeping, it's important to be checking those payouts. And there are errors, right? Airbnb may have errors. So, I think it's important to add that to your list of, tasks to do as a host is make sure payouts are correct. So, um, great. Well, with that said, does anyone else have anything particular or listings that you guys want me to audit or review? I see we've got, um,
Emily,
yeah, hey Kevin. Kelvin, sorry.
hey,
I didn't mean to
yeah,
say Kevin.
I have a question. It's regarding like we're around tax time, and I sat in on a hospitable hosting that they talked about like the taxes that are reserved and things of that nature, but I was a little confused. So my property is in Tallahassee. I use hospitable. And when I see what's charged, I do see that they withhold the general sales and use tax, accommodations tax for Leon County, sales and use. But I wasn't clear, is hospitable holding that out and sending that in to the authorities, or are the booking platforms doing it? Because it was a little confusing because they made reference to if you have direct premium, then it's this. I was just confused. I said maybe you will have some more because I know it's
Yeah.
getting taken out, but I don't know who's sending it.
Yes, that's a really, really good question. That is definitely something all hosts should be paying attention to. I'm pretty sure they're referring to direct bookings. I didn't watch that or go to that town hall or webinar that they hosted. I do
Right.
need to go back and make sure I'm following that as well. But I'm pretty sure they're talking about with direct bookings because Hospitable is going to remit taxes on your behalf as a host for the direct booking since they are the merchant of record. And they're
Okay, that's what I thought. Because
and
when I look at hospitable and you go to the actual reservation, it'll show you, this is what they pay, and it'll show all the taxes that were taken out. And
yes,
I said, I know I'm not getting it to send it in. So I didn't know
yes.
if they were just showing the accounting and maybe Airbnb was doing it, but it looks like hospitable is doing it because they're the one that actually pay me out.
For the direct booking. Are you referring to the direct booking?
I'm referring to like bookings that come through Airbnb, booking.com and VRBO.
Okay, so those for Airbnb, so I just pulled up this article. So you're
Okay.
right, in Hospitable, it's going to break down the payout section and I think what you're explaining is it shows like taxes and then it tells you, what specific taxes are
Right.
being pulled out. So it's telling you your net payout, but the
Right.
Airbnb is the one remitting the taxes on your behalf,
Okay. Gotcha.
unless, yeah, unless there's a guest making a reservation through your direct booking site on Hospitable. In that case, Hospitable becomes the merchant of record. They are the ones collecting and remitting taxes on your behalf. So what you're explaining
Gotcha.
now, this page, and I'll drop this in the chat too, so you can review it.
Okay.
But really what I did is I just Googled tax remittance for Tallahassee and then I type Airbnb and it will pull up the help article. So it's telling us here the occupancy tax collection and remittance by Airbnb in Florida. Here's what happens when guests book. Here's the amounts, what the sub taxes are, tourist taxes, and then it's going to break down by county. So
Okay.
you know what county your property's
Yeah,
in?
Leon County.
Lee or Leon? Leon.
Leon. Yeah,
Okay.
Leon County.
So it says guests who book Airbnb listings that are located in Leon County, Florida, will pay the following tax as part of their reservation: tourist development tax. So guests are paying 5% of the listing price, including cleaning fees. They're taxed on the cleaning fee as well within that rate. Um,
Okay.
for reservations less than 182 nights. And then you can even go to it'll direct you to the Leon County tax collectors website. Super helpful. So it's nice to
So
know. I mean, I can't imagine as a host having to know the different tax,
yes.
you know.
So I was confused because hospitable breaks it. So they're basically breaking it down, but they're not the remitter. They're
Correct.
just showing you, oh, okay. Because I was like, I thought Airbnb did it. Because
Yeah.
I get reservations on Airbnb, booking.com and VRBO, but all the reservations show the breakdown. So it seems like all of them are doing that. But
Yes, I believe that's right. And so, even if, okay, so I'm all about like how to find the right resources and where. And so if you go,
right.
into your hospitable and you click that little blurb on the bottom, and if you even just type in tax, this help article is going to tell us how taxes are handled in direct. So, by direct, they mean direct booking. You're direct
Like
booking.
like say for instance you had your own website and people booked on your website. Okay.
Correct. Yep. And I mean, definitely worth setting up if you're getting repeat guests. It's really easy to get your direct booking site up and running. You can post QR codes at in within your actual property, and if guests arrive and they say, "Oh my gosh, this place is amazing. We want to come back next year," they can scan your QR code and your direct website will pull up. But it's like I think depending on what hospitable account you have, if you're on the legacy account or one of the newer versions of Hospitable, it's like included in your monthly fee anyway. Um, but that's a caveat to what we were talking about. So it says Hospitable will file and remit certain taxes on your behalf in the following states. Let's just see if Florida is on here.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's on there.
Yeah, I wonder what's not. It looks like there's a lot of states on here.
And
Alaska's,
once again, this is only for direct bookings.
I
That's the
believe
states that
so.
they were. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And it is nice though, like you were just mentioning, for anyone who watches this back or anyone on the call, it's really nice to go into hospitable, like Kelvin was mentioning, and you can see your net payout for that reservation. It's almost easier to understand than, when you're on Airbnb and they've got all the line item breakdowns. It's almost easier to understand in hospitable because you can see how those taxes are taken out and then what you're actually getting paid after any fees. So hospitable will know that your cleaning fee is, let's say, $300. So they're going to deduct that from your net payout just in the display of what you're being paid. Um, they're not the ones paying your cleaners, but they're showing you that deduction. Same with the taxes. Um, let's see. Let me just make sure. Again, I did not go to the town hall, but um, remittance, yeah, it's all about buy hospitable. So let's do Airbnb tax. See if anything pops up. Or if we type in net payout, annual earnings report, metrics widget, owner payouts, payouts and charges. Okay. So this article is okay. I mean, it tells you a little bit about how payouts are dispersed, but yeah, I'm pretty sure, Kelvin, that it's just for direct booking that they are remitting taxes on your behalf, unless there's something I do not know. But um,
Okay.
yeah, yep, really good question. Was that town hall today?
It was yesterday. It was hosted by Hospitable.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been having like a tax series because of, we're at the time when people filing taxes and stuff. But
Yeah. Yeah. I've been meaning to get on those. And it just always ends up being during a time that I can't make.
oh
And I
yeah,
just,
it's in the middle of the day.
yeah.
It seems like they try to have them around lunch though, because this one was like at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. Yeah. They're trying to find that central t or Eastern time that may work for everyone.
Right.
And I'm sure they're recorded as well. I literally have it on my to-do list to go back and watch recordings. And yeah, it's hard to do that when you've got things like Netflix. So
Right. Right.
but yeah, hopefully that clarifies that question. Yeah,
I
and
do
you're
have
right.
a
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
do have another question too. Like if since we have properties listed on Airbnb, sometimes I just check Airbnb and try to find out what page I'm on, but for some reason I can never find my own property. Do they not let you see your own property?
They definitely do. They definitely let you
Mhm.
see your own property. There could be a handful of reasons why you're not pulling up when you do a search. The most common reasons you're not going to pull up is, let's say you're pulling up, you're typing in dates and you're typing in
Right.
June 9th through June 11th. which would be 2 nights.
Okay.
And if
Right.
you have a 3 night minimum that far out, then your listing's not going to pull up and it's going to,
Okay.
look like you're not visible, but it's just because you've got a 3 night minimum and you typed in a 2 night stay.
Okay.
Another example, sure you're not doing this, but it's easy to make this mistake. You might accidentally be searching for dates that maybe one of those nights is already booked, and so it's not going to pull you up. Um, I can
You,
search also.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you to do. Tallahassee.
Okay. So again, important. So if we're in March, do you know your availability? Because if, let's say you're,
Yes.
yeah, give me
Let
some
me
dates.
look at it now. Because I get a lot of last minute
Mhm.
bookings.
Yeah.
So for this week, I'm open through
Oh,
Sunday. So if you
okay.
and I have a 2 night minimum.
Okay. So I'm just gonna do 11 to 13. And then how
Okay.
many guests do you typically host?
I
Or I
typically
guess
host.
what's your max?
Um, my max is 8.
Okay, we'll search 8. Um, and of course, it's just gonna pull up whatever is relevant to me. It's not necessarily going to pop up with your listing right away. So we may have to kind of go in a general location here. Um, so this is what pops up when I type in Tallahassee for
Hmm.
these 2 dates, but I'm not zoomed in anywhere. So maybe if I zoom in, are you close to Florida State University?
Yes, I'm almost like on the same street. I'm on Copeland Street, and it's right by. Yeah, there we go. That's me.
This is it? Okay.
Yep, that's
So
it.
you're pulling up and you're visible, and you were one of the listings that was, actually had a pin. It wasn't hiding you as soon as I started zooming in closer to
Okay.
the area. So you're pulling up now. Um,
I
let's
wonder
just,
if you like put in a lower number because it's like you put in 8 guests, but sometimes I might put in like 4 guests or something. I wonder, does it rank you differently by the number of guests?
you should still pull up. The only time you're not going to pull up is if someone puts in 9 guests, and you may be
Okay.
right in that if a guest is searching for 4 guests, they may be prioritizing properties that are smaller to push out.
Okay.
But things like RankBreeze and IntelliHost are going to be the actual softwares that can tell you that data, with real information versus just kind of doing searches here and there. I don't always know if it's necessary to do those kinds of softwares. But the good news is you are pulling up for me. What I want to test now,
So,
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
okay. Now, I was wondering, like, I see you found me on the map, but like in terms of like, I guess on the page, the scrolling, like what page? Oh, well, I'm on the first page. Wow.
Yeah, for me, you pulled up on the first page. So, um, that is a good indicator, in my opinion. Uh, I have clicked on your listing once, and so that could be why you have come in or, pulled up on the first page. So remembering
Okay.
that everybody's search is going to be different. So
Okay.
I'm sure, Calvin, I've pulled up your listing in the past too, and the
Right.
algorithm is going to remember that. And they're trying to play on statistics and push familiarity, or they remember that, I had been on your page for 10 minutes in the past, so it's going to be more likely to push the listing versus if
Gotcha.
let's say you send a, a family member randomly searches and they've never looked for your listing, or maybe they've never been on Airbnb before at all. The types of listings that are going to pop up are going to be completely different than what's popping up on my screen for me. It's a lot like how Instagram, let's just use Instagram for example. The more you're on Instagram, it's tracking how many minutes you stay on one post, or it's tracking every click that you make and whose profiles you're looking at, and it's categorizing all these different behaviors, and then it's tailoring what pops up in your feed based on all of those factors. So my Instagram feed is so different than my husband's, you know?
Right.
And so it's the same. It's the same for property searches, which is wild. Um, it's kind of crazy like how different properties are going to pull up for different people, but they're really trying to curate this page to that specific booker based on their previous behaviors. And I believe that's called an interest-based algorithm. So
Uh,
if that helps you at all, as far as I don't I don't want people to get overly hung up on being on the first page or not. You definitely don't want to get bad reviews because you're not going to probably pull up at all in any searches. Um,
right.
so the likelihood that you're going to be on more people's first page by having good reviews and good track record with Airbnb, the more likely you're going to be to push out to that first page for, let's say, someone who always books 5-star stays, for example.
Right.
So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I think that's important. I did want to search one more thing for you, Calvin, with your listing.
Okay.
So let's just say just pretend like I'm a potential booker and I'm going out to September and I click a 2-night stay. My guess is that you're not going to pull up. Let's check here. Where did Florida State go? Okay, you're somewhere around here.
Yep.
So
Carter
you're
Howell. Yep.
you're not going to pull up. And this could have been what, let's just say you were playing around real quick on your Airbnb and you accidentally just typed in a 2 dates. But let's
Right.
say I don't know if these dates are booked for you yet.
They are not.
Okay. So now
So I
let's
pulled
see.
up then.
So
Yeah.
you pulled up because your minimum night stay. So I had selected the 3rd through the 9th. So you're going to pull up because you're not restricted.
Yeah. Because in
That,
September, I do 3 nights because that's football season. So I
yeah,
always stay booked up then. So it increased it for that season.
yeah. And so just remember that whenever you're kind of doing the search on
Mhm.
Airbnb to see, am I pulling up? What's going on? Is my listing showing up? And or let's say you send it to a friend and they want to book it, make sure you're not selecting a 2-night stay when your minimum is 3 nights. With that
Gotcha.
said, if you're someone, this may or may not apply to you specifically, but just generally for those in the call, if you're someone who's really struggling to get bookings, or you want to improve your visibility to try to capture more far out bookings, let's say for
Okay.
football season, then reduce your minimum night stay because we just exemplified that you can't get booked and you're not even visible if your minimum night stays are long. So I
Right.
see it all the time where someone will have, a 4 or 5 night minimum. And let's say it's football season, and a lot of people start booking football season in the early part of the year because people get jacked about football. They get stoked about football season. And
Right.
you're going to get really good rates the farther out you're booked. So, in my opinion, for some of those markets, I don't see a problem with increasing your nightly rate for and
Mhm.
opening it up for a 2-night stay because
Okay.
you're gonna then get a be more likely to get a far out booking at that really high rate versus waiting for
Right.
that ideal 3-4 night stay, but maybe
Gotcha.
you get booked closer to the date and that means it's for a lesser amount, all the things like that. So
Okay.
that's just something to consider if you're really wanting to get your football weekends booked in
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Because I'm trying to remember how do you do the rules? Because I think it automatically adjusted to 3 nights in September because of, I guess, demand in that month. I forgot how I can change the rules for just that maybe couple of months.
Yeah. So there's a handful of ways to do that, and you're going to do that in Price Labs. So in Price Labs on the left-hand side, and if you want to pull up your Price Labs and screen share, I'm happy to walk you through that as well. Totally up
Okay.
to you. Um, but there's going to be customizations that you set, and those customizations are where you create your minimum night stay. So you set a default. So let's say your default is 2 weekdays, 2 weekend nights within 30 days. Then you can specify 2 weeknight days, 3 weekends within if a guest books within 90 days. So on those customizations on the left-hand side of Price Labs are going to be where you set your minimum night stays. Let's say you don't want to mess with all of those customizations specifically for your generalized rules. You can
Okay.
always drag over an entire month on Price Labs and customize one specific month to have a 2 night minimum instead of a 3 night minimum, even if it's 6 months out. So let's say, in December you wanted to allow 2 night minimums, you can just highlight over all the days and then specify 2 nights. You'll have to click override and then you'll be able to set the 2 night minimum that way. I just don't have a visual to show you. I can't use my Price Labs as an example because
Log in.
yeah, yeah, if you want to log in, I'm happy to kind of show you that. Then while you're doing that, there's an additional way that you can update minimum night stays, and that is by creating seasonal profiles within Price Labs. I like to give people the option to just drag and highlight a specific month and do a manual override versus creating seasonal profiles because seasonal profiles are just a little more I'm not saying they're advanced, but you have to understand how to create the seasonal profile. Okay, let me allow you allow I allowed you to share, but I can't see your screen. Do you want to try one more time?
See, share.
There we go. Okay,
Okay.
fabulous. So if you click review prices on the left, right there,
Okay.
um, then if you go on the left-hand side, it says down a little bit, it says applied customizations. Down a little
Okay.
bit. Yep, and then click that so it drops down.
Okay.
Then I want to see if you scroll a little bit. So where it says minimum stay settings. So you've got
Okay.
a default. So your default is set at 3 weekday nights and 3 weekend nights. And then any other customization is going to fall under last minute or far out. So for
Okay.
last minute, weekday bookings for 2 nights, weekends, within 45 nights. So if a guest is making a booking within a month and a half, they're going to have the
Hmm.
option to book 2 nights, 2 weekends nights.
Okay.
Anything past 45 nights, your current settings mean that they have to book 3 weekend nights. I like these rules. I think they generally, I don't know your market in and out. If you had Becky help with setting this up too, I would even bet further that your settings are,
Yes, she did.
yeah,
I try not to tinker with it too much because I know
yeah,
she's more experienced. I'll go in every once in a while, like to play with it, but I try to keep the overall rules
yeah.
pretty much the same.
I like your thought process with those customizations. You had kind of the pro do it. So let's just say, Kelvin, I'm going to show you how you can make an override for a single day, a week, a
Okay.
weekend, an entire month. So what you want to do, just so you're gonna move your mouse over to the calendar and
Okay.
let's click on the 11th. And if
Okay.
you click that, it's going to
Okay.
pop up, and this is where you can do manual custom overrides. So even at the top, it says date specific overrides. And let's say you're like, hey, I want to get a booking tonight, and I'm going to drop down to stay restrictions in red, and then where it says
Okay.
minimum stay, if you just type
Okay.
a one right there,
Uh, yeah.
then let's say you say, I'm okay with overriding my typical customizations. I'm going to allow a one night stay for this night only if it gets booked at a price of 200. So if you go back up, I kind of did it backwards, where it says price settings, you can fix a price. And let's
Okay.
just say you're only going to allow the one night stay if it's 200 bucks, or you can
Right.
do
Okay.
whatever amount you want.
Yeah.
And then if you click add at the bottom right, and I'll show you how to delete it too, so don't worry because
Okay.
it's not going to sync right away. Um, but you can see there's now a purple line over your calendar. You just made a
Right.
manual override. So your manual override now applies, and any of the customizations that you have set are no longer going to apply. So, you know, you can do that for if you let's just click on the 12th for me.
Okay.
And let's say so where it says date range at the top,
Okay.
right now, we're just on the 12th, but if you go March 12th to, let's say, April 12th,
Yeah.
let's say you want to make a customization and
Right.
you want to allow 2 night stays the entire month. You already have 2 night stays, but
Right.
isn't the best
Within
example.
45 days. Right.
Yeah. But let's say we were in the month of September and you decided, hey, I want to get those 2 night stay bookings. And I'm gonna just put my minimum stay as 2 nights. And then another thing that you could do is pretending again we're in the September example and you decide
Okay.
you're gonna do a manual override to 2 nights. You can go into price settings where it says final price and fixed.
Yep.
If you click the drop down arrow where it says fixed and go to
Hmm.
percent change on recommended price. So
Okay.
let's say then you say you go where it says -75 to 500
Yep.
right there. If you click that and you say, well, since I'm allowing 2 night stays, and this is still 6 months out, I'd like to
Right.
increase my price by 10%. Come, so it'll then override the pushed price and it will automatically increase it by 10% of what Price Labs already recommends. So a little pricing lesson.
So basically it's saying by allowing a difference, a change from our rule, I'll allow it, but I'm gonna charge 10% more.
If
Is
you
that
want to do that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, if that's the number. Okay.
Yep. And that's another way too. Let's say you have put that guests get a 10% discount for early bird booking.
Right.
Well, you're getting that marketing feature in Airbnb, but you don't actually want the pricing to be 10% lower. This is where you
Right.
can go in and put a percent change on the recommended price, and put 10% recommended. The guest still thinks they're getting a discount and your property's getting pushed out as offering 10% off, but you're manually or putting this own manual override where it's not
Right.
10% off. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's kind of a little marketing tactic, sales tactic in a way to make those overrides like that. So
Okay. That's
yeah.
good to know.
Yeah, and I'll show you how to delete the override that we did
Okay. Let
before.
me go. Oh, okay.
And so if you just click that line and there's a little trash can on the bottom right where it
Oh,
says
right,
update,
right.
yep.
Yeah.
And if you hit the trash can, it'll delete it. So it goes back to your setting. And
Okay.
there you go. Yeah. So I always like to hit save and refresh just in case.
Where do
So
you hit save at? Is there a
yeah, bring
save?
your mouse to the left side and then scroll up to the top. and you'll see save and
Oh,
refresh.
save and
Yep.
refresh. Okay.
Yeah. And then I just want to show you one more thing, Kelvin, and then I'll let
Okay.
everybody go. But something, if you're like, hey, I want to be somebody that checks in on my pricing and I want to make adjustments to the base price, if you click
Okay.
that help me choose a base price
Okay.
right here. So it's telling us that your base price might be a little high right now based on the
Okay.
trends of the market. So so essentially, I think, when you had your pricing initially set up, maybe it was set a little bit higher, maybe during busy season, things are picking up. If you drop your base price by $5 or $10, you might start getting a few more bookings. And then just see if that helps you get some momentum going. But it is,
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about that. It seems like I have a hard time with the weekdays, and that might, I don't know if that's just my market specific, but yeah, the weekdays, I gotta get that occupancy up.
yeah. I think it's worth it. I don't know all the ins and outs necessarily of your booking history. I haven't gone
Right.
into, but if Price Labs is saying, hey, your bookings are trending worse relative to the market for this time period, and they'll
Right.
adjust their recommended base price based on data every 2 weeks or so. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's what's worth checking. So if it were me, I would at least drop my base price right now to either 235 or 230 and see if I get a booking. And to do that, I just click the X in the top right
Okay.
and then,
This.
yep, bring your mouse over to the left, and then you're going to see where it says minimum and base. Yep, right there. So if you're a little hesitant about dropping by $10, start with five and do,
Yeah, I'll do the
yeah,
five.
yep. And
Save
then
and
save and
refresh.
refresh. And then you can sync it so that whenever you hit sync, the new prices, the most recent pricing is going to push out to hospitable, then out to the OTAs. So sync is
Where
the,
is the sync at?
yep, top right. Yep, there you go. So now Price Labs is adjusting your prices based on a $5 reduced base price. And if you hover over a date, so
Okay.
let's say you hover your mouse over March 11th or whatever day, yeah,
Okay.
something pops up. And this is Price Labs telling you how it's getting to the price that they are going to be pushing out to the OTAs. So, based
Sure.
on your customizations, the market factors, your minimum price, maximum price, your base price, all the things that, and then it tells you what price is getting pushed. So the last seen price to get to potential guests is 183.
Right.
Um, and the price with default customizations is 135, but it increased it by 3% because of the demand factor. So that's why we're hitting 183. So
Okay.
yeah, if you want to play around with just kind of the numbers, we should just do a whole pricing call. But
Yes, because I remember we did one last year, something you kind of went through this. So I think that'll be good to
yeah,
do have one of those again.
yeah, I think so too. I'll start working on that, but I do have to get going here, just a few minutes past.
Okay.
But yeah, Kelvin, thanks for bringing the questions and um let me know. Come back next week if you can and let me know if even just making a slight adjustment on Price Labs if you saw a booking come in.
Okay. Now, Emily, you only do Wednesdays or do you do Monday and Wednesday?
I do Wednesdays and Becky is doing Mondays. So
Gotcha. That's what I thought. Okay.
yeah, sometimes
All
I'll
right. Well,
randomly, yeah.
this
Uh,
was helpful.
Great, fabulous. That makes me happy to hear. I'm always here for you guys, and I will see you all hopefully on the next call. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.